Hi everyone, it's Kay from the Paper Shed. Hope you're all doing well. Thanks for coming back and joining me for the fabulous week 2 of the White Rose Detective Agency, Chapter 2, The Case of the Peculiar Butler. And wow, what a week we've had. We've had so much inspiration and thoughts and ideas that have been posted in the group, and your pictures have been absolutely amazing. So thanks to everybody that is joining in and that is enjoying the story so far. I'm back today with the first part. Well, it's part 6. I'm going to keep them in order, even though the weeks change. But it's the first one of week 2. And yeah, we've got some more great pictures. We've got some tags. There is no ephemera in this particular week. So it sort of threw me a little bit. I'm not 100% sure of how I'm going to do certain things, but I've had some ideas, so I'd like to share them with you. So for the first week, we did the cover, we did the bindings, we did a signature, and we completed the first signature from beginning to end. Now, I made lots and lots of mistakes along the way, and I was in a bit of a dilemma whether to leave them in the videos or not, but we do have a learning process with the videos. And, it isn't just about making it and having an end result. People who are new to junk journaling need to sort of understand when you make a mistake, it doesn't need to go in the bin. It doesn't need to be rubbish. We have a lot of, I make especially a lot of happy mistakes, where it turns out to be much better than I imagined in the end. So it's always better to leave those in, I think. And I've had the confirmation back from a few of people who have said, this has really helped. So I'm so glad that it's helped some of you, because do you know what? If I just inspire one person that watches my video, then I feel like I've done something and I've achieved something. So thank you to everyone that has commented, but I'd really like a special thank you to Patty, who has commented with lots of inspiration and has spurred me on to continue with, my thought processes and things while I'm going through this, because I've not done this before in this format. I've always just made, an odd cover video or a bit of ephemera or just one-off things. So I've never actually done the whole process of making a journal from start to finish on video throughout it all, mistakes and all of that. So I wanted to just really thank her, because she's really inspired me to just carry on and, as embrace the fact that I'm leaving those things in, because it's helping lots of other people as well as her, but it's helping to understand the process of how we do things. And, I'm only sitting here the same as you are at your desk and going through and doing it. It's just that I'm doing it on camera. So, yeah, I'm really grateful. There's been quite a few newbies that have been coming to the group as well. And I've had some fabulous comments from Tamara and Trish and Pamela and Wendy and all of those guys that are joining in. So thank you from the bottom of my heart to all of you that are taking part and encouraging me to carry on. So thank you for that. So I'm going to go through. I'm not going to do this on camera, only because we covered signatures and the way that you sew them and all of that in the first week. So all I've done so far is I've just gathered my pages of what I want to put in. Now, there was a question, and I think it was from Patty, with regards to how many pages that you want to put in a signature. So just want to talk about that just for a second. It is entirely your own preference, and it all really depends on the sort of signature that you want to put in your journal. So if, for instance, you just wanted to put a story type book in with pictures and so on, then you don't need many pages to do that. So 4 or 5 pages would be more than sufficient for that sort of thing. If you're doing a writer's signature or writer's journal, then you need to incorporate lots of other pages that are going to be left blank, or that you're just going to stamp on or put a little cluster on. They're not pages that you're going to be adding lots to. So you want to leave these sort of pages. So I would suggest if you're doing a writing type journal or signature, then you need to add a few more extra pages. So anything from 7 to 10, maybe 15 if you're only doing one signature. So it all depends on how many signatures you're putting in your journal. It all depends on um, how many pages that you want to put into each signature, because obviously the more pages that you put into each signature, the fatter that's going to get as you add to it, and so on and so on. So if you were doing one signature, for instance, and you just wanted, I would put 20 in. That's probably the most pages I would ever put into a signature at any point. If I was doing a two signature journal, then I would put in anything from 10 to 15 pages in each of those signatures. But as I go up in numbers for the signatures, my pages would get less and less in each of the signatures. I'm only, and I don't know whether this is the right way or the wrong way, and I'm not trying to, preach this is right and that's wrong. All I'm trying to do is give you some ideas of how to work it out for yourself. You need to understand the process, because it took me a long time with signatures, and it's all done through trial and error, really, what works and what doesn't. And you know what? If it doesn't work, undo your stitching and take more out, or add more in. It's just because you've sewn your signature doesn't mean you have to just live with that. You can alter it and change it. So don't ever think that, if you've put 10 pages in and you suddenly think, I'm not going to get all those in there, then, alter it, because that's what we do. If you want it different, make it different. So it is all down again to different preference, or personal preference. And I do feel that, I took ages to work out a sort of method in my madness of how I liked things to sit and look and feel. So, I don't really have a rule of thumb. I just go with what I think at the time. And then if I want to change it, I change it. And I will come back to my first signature. It is still in my book because I haven't done it, but I've looked through it several times now. And I know that what I was trying to achieve was to show you guys lots of different ways and things to add into your journals, and to, you know, I was trying to give you lots of options. But I do feel that my signature is way too, it's got way too much in. So I've decided that I am going to alter it, and I will do it off camera. I don't want to do it on camera. Um, I mean, I like this part, and I like my pockets and things, and I think they're really pretty. And although I wanted it as a writing journal, I think for the first signature, I'm not so bothered. There's too much in here. I mean, it's not too bad, but there's too much in. So I am going to remove this section. I'm going to leave this as my centerpiece, and I'm probably going to print this off again. And what I'm going to do is probably put a pocket in that matches this picture, so that you can just only see the picture even though there's pockets there. So I'm changing that idea. So I'm going to remove this envelope, and then I might see how that feels. I just feel like it's way too big for my first signature in this journal. And I've got to be able to get another 4 in yet. And I will show you what I've done when I've done it. So what I've decided to do with this one is, even though I'm leaving writing pages in here, I'm still putting my story at the beginning. And this time I've just ripped around them, and I'm going to pop them onto the pages like that. So I'm going to do that off camera, so that the storyline's there. And then it's going to give me a few pages. I've added a couple of these invoice type papers in, just for added interest, really, and nothing more. I won't be decorating those. I will be just leaving them, perhaps. Don't know yet. So I've still got a few writing pages. This could be written on because it's light enough, and but I've only used the papers that have come with this week's kit. So week two's kit, and I think it's 6 pages. But what I was saying about getting to grips with your signatures is that you find that you think 4 pages isn't going to be enough, but 4 A4 sheets will give you 16 sides to write on, and that's a lot in a book, in one signature. And it took me a while to get there because I was thinking, oh, it's never going to be enough. I need 10 pages or I need 15 pages. And when you're actually making an actual writer's journal, yeah, you probably do need that. But it all depends on lots of other aspects through your journal. So it's just giving you something to really think about. And like I said, it is personal preference. So go with whatever it is that you feel is right. So yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go away. I've cut all my pieces out. I do need to back some of these, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to create probably some ephemera from my cards that I'm taking out of the other book. So from week 1, I'm going to create some ephemera from there, and I'll probably use some ephemera as well from here. So I shall be cutting things out. So if you're following along with the story, yeah, come back and join me. Okay, so I had another thought. Since we're not actually going to be, sort of going over the signature again, I thought I'd show you the process of how I'm going to sort my ephemera out. So although this all needs, most of this needs backing because it was printed on some thinner paper, I need to go through my pictures just so that I can determine which ones I'm going to be prepared to cut out for ephemera and what I'm going to be prepared to keep as a card. So what I've done, or what I've started to do, is I'm starting to go through, I've read the story, so I sort of know how it needs to flow through the book. So I'm probably going to cut him out and make him a piece of ephemera. I've got 2 of these because I think I think Mandy's thought process is that she just gives you plenty of similar pictures so that you can choose which ones that you want to incorporate rather than her make that choice for you in the pictures. So I'm sure, yeah, there it is. So I've got 2 sort of medics there, and I've got a nurse and a medic there. So you're obviously not going to use both. So I thought what I would do is use this one as a card to follow the story, but I'd cut out the nurse. So I'm going to cut this one out. So I write on the back which ones I'm going to cut. I'm going to cut him out as a photo just because it's got his name on it. And I think because he's mentioned in the story, I'd like to do that. And I'm probably going to cut him out as well, only because he's not really overly relevant in the storyline. Now, this is definitely a crime scene, so I want to leave that as a picture. And obviously him being slumped over. Now, I don't know if there's another one of those, which I don't think there is, but there is a page with him on like that. So I'm probably, have I got one that I'm going to cut out already? Yeah, I think I did at the beginning, didn't I? So I was going to cut that one out. I do quite like him with his butler's hat on, though. So I'm probably going to cut that one out. Let me just get a pencil. So I'm just going to mark the back. I think this is part of the storyline, but what I'd like to do is with one of them is I'm going to be cutting out Watson and the cigar here. So I'm going to cut that one. And that's how I'm going to eliminate the process of, so these are 2 similar photographs. It all depends on which one that you want to keep and which one you want to cut. And that's how I would go through these. Like these 2 here, you only really need one to show the guests that are standing outside. Now this is thicker on thicker cards, so I'm going to keep that as card, and then I may cut that out. So I will put that in that pile. There's 2 of Mrs. Pennington here. Now there is, oh, I must have put it somewhere else. There's 2 of Mrs. Pennington here with different backgrounds. So I'm probably going to cut one of those out because we could use it as ephemera. I mean, we may not, but it's always worth the try. Now you've got 4 sort of butlers here, and they're all similar, but they are all different men. And I suppose it all depends on how you want to view him. So I'm going to cut him out because he's got glasses on and he's not really fitting to the man in the chair. So any of these men could be that man. So I'm going to keep the biggest ones, and we could cut him out, and we could cut him out with the tray serving the drinks. And that's how I would do it. So I would cut all those. These ones here, I'm just not sure about. See, he's sort of in an army type with a... So I'm thinking that I'm going to keep him as the police officer, and then I can cut Libby out and the police officer out, maybe. We'll see anyway. As a guide, I just sort of do it as a guide. So I'm going to be keeping these ones as some cards. Now, there's plenty of cards there because you've got all of these tags. And this time I'm going to keep my bulldog clip on the top. I may do something with that. I don't know. I do like the booklet idea with the tags at the beginning of the other one. So as I was saying earlier about taking stuff out, I have actually taken some out of my other book. And I will show you what I've done. I've created, I do feel like it's a little bit better. It's not fantastic, but I just don't see how I'm going to be able to take any more out of it without causing too much of a problem. So I'm leaving the front in. I've taken out the middle, which is there. Now, I haven't redone the pocket yet, but I will do. And then what I've done on the back is I've taken that back part off because this part is actually quite bulky, or was quite bulky. So what I've done is I've taken that flip out page off because it was creating on there. So I'll show you what I have. So I do feel a little bit better now about the first signature. So I've taken this out. I've just cut around it and inked a little bit. And what I will do is I will incorporate this part into my second signature. So I will probably put that either on the back page or somewhere in the book. Now I may do that, and you've already got another piece of ephemera there then. So I may do that with that. With this one, I'm just literally going to take out the cards and I'm probably going to cut some of these. Now, I won't waste the envelope part. I will probably use that somewhere else because I've done it, I may as well use it somewhere else. But these then will give me the option to either use as cards again in the signatures and keep them for future weeks, especially sort of neutral ones like this sort of thing. And I could cut him out as a tag. I could take this out. You know, we've got a little one there with tuppence on. So there's lots of these that I could actually cut out or make pockets or do whatever because they're neutral type cards actually. None of those incorporate any of the victims from the other one or anything. So I'm quite happy to do that. So I will put that on there and go through those in a little while. So I'm going to back them. I'm going to ink everything. I'm going to get my story in and then I'm going to come back. Okay, so I'm back. I've managed to get all my story in. So I've inked all around it and I've just stuck those into my pages this week because there was four pages. So I've managed to get that done. I've also gone through my signature to find out where I want to add things to. So I've made a list of what I might want to add in different places, like a belly band, a pocket. So anything that you're actually going to put in to bulk your signature out. That's what I do for these pages here. Then what I did was I've cut everything out, I've backed it all and I've inked around it. I've taken some of the duplicate cards and I've cut some of those out so that I've created some ephemera for this particular signature because there wasn't much this week. The other thing that I did was I want to make some clusters, so I've taken some bits out of the other kit that I'm using alongside the main kit. I am using the whole of this kit, of Mandy's kit, but I need bits and pieces to go with it. Now, I haven't sewn my signature in as yet. I've left it, only because I'm working obviously ahead. And I want to incorporate whatever Mandy makes in her videos, her weekly videos. I want to incorporate that into that week's signature. So I haven't stuck this one in or sewn it in, purely because I don't know what she's making this week and it might need to be added into the journal. So I'm thinking along, that's my thought process at the moment. So I will sew this in as soon as I've got Mandy's videos and been able to make it. So as I say, I've got my list. We're going to be working on page 5, which is the full page, and I've decided to do a like file folder type thing. So I've just got a piece of paper. You can use paper, card, whatever it is that you've got. If you've got plain, you can dibby-dabby it or stencil it, or you just need something a little on the background. Now, you're not going to see much of it, but you will see a little bit of it. So it just needs to be patterned in some way. It doesn't have to be, I suppose. You can leave it plain if you want to. I used craft card the first time that I did it, but it makes it a little stiff. So this time I've just picked a piece of writing paper. So I've just made it so that it's just shy all the way around my page. Now I can still see that that's upside down, but it averts the eye from it really. So I'm not too fussed about that. So then we're going to need some card to do some of the file folders. So I've just picked up a piece of music. In fact, it was out of my stash, and it's been creased and bone folded and all sorts because I was trying to make something else with it. But that doesn't bother me because it's a file folder. So if it's grunged up a little bit, I don't mind. I just want to get it used. So my idea is to do some stacking files like so, some stacking pockets like this, and then we will decorate those up. So if you're using craft card for this or just card, just dibby-dabby them or stencil them. You don't have to use pattern paper, just use what you have. So I'm going to be working on this. I'm not working in my journal, in my signature today. So what we want to do is get your piece of backing paper, and then what we'll do is we'll make these into faux file folders. And I've not been precious about the size. They're from anything from 3 3/4 to 4 inches long, and it fits on my page at 5 inches. So you have to work out obviously what you want to do. So I want these to fit on my page just about. I want to cover as much as I can. So that's what we're going to do. So first off, we're going to use and make the file folder the way that I want them. Now, the first pocket that I want, which is this top pocket here, do I want to use that? I want to use this one, I think, because it's got this writing on, although I'm going to cut that off. Anyway, I've got this little punch board, but you can use anything. If you've got a one of these ones, you can use this to make your tabs. If you've got a envelope punch board, you can use an envelope punch board in exactly the same way. Now, I don't really want to give you measurements because you could be using different things to be doing that with. I wonder if I should use that because probably more people have got that than they have the punch board. So let's work this out. I want to just mark the middle. Where's my pencil? I'm just marking the middle because I want to stand up tab here in the middle. So I'm just going to mark the middle. And then what we need to do is we just need to make a tab mark. Now I'm just going to line it up. I'm going to put my middle at the opening to where that is there. So you can just see that there's a dark line here. And I'm just going to mark my middle there to make that as a punch. Okay. And then I'm going to turn it over And I'm going to mark where my middle is on there. Okay, and then I'm going to do exactly the same mark on the other side. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to use the ruler and we're just going to cut those two end tabs off. Okay. So we've got our first file. I'm just going to go that way. Okay. And then for these ones, I actually want it to be a down file like this. Okay. So what I want to do for that one is I want to do the same thing. So I want to mark the middle again. Now these cards aren't ideal for this, but that's the middle. So I've got middle there and middle there. It's only a guide. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do that way and then line that middle up this side and do that way. And I'm going to do exactly the same on this one. So you want 3 in the middle. Well, you don't. You can do whatever it is that you want to do. This is just the way that I'm doing it, or what I'm making. So I just want 3 that are in the middle, thereabouts. And then what I want to do with this one is I want to cut out the middle bit instead of the 2 ends this time. So I'm just going to line my ruler up and then I'm just going to take that middle bit out. Okay, so I've got one like that. And then I want to do the same with this one. Okay, so you can either do that on with a notcher, an envelope punch, you can do it with whatever that you have at hand to make your tabs. Then they're going to need inking. So I want this one first. Do I want that one first? Could put it in the middle, I suppose. Yeah, I like the idea of that actually. And that's what it's going to look like. So I'm going to ink those up first. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add those to our page. Okay, so arrange them however you want them. I want it to fill the whole of the page, so all the way up to the top there, thereabouts. And what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to leave it open all the way down. So the only one that I'm going to do 3 sides on is this bottom one. So we'll do that first. So I'll get that glued on. And then this one's going to go in here, down to the bottom. Yeah, that one could have done with coming back down, but it doesn't matter. It'll just give you more height for this part here and for decorating. So there's our page at the moment. Then what I want to do is I want to put an envelope on this front pocket here. So I found this piece of, it is just paper, but I think it'll be adequate enough. And I just want to measure. So to the top to the bottom is almost 3.5. So I want it to be at least 3. So I'm going to cut 6.5 off because there's an overlay. So if we put it at 6.5, which is about there, and then what we'll do is you're going to turn it round so your longer part is this way. Okay, so this is your 6.5 line here. We're going to just nip that middle just to give you a guideline, and then we're going to bring the first piece over to your middle bit, which is there. Okay, line that up top and bottom and just crease that in, turn it around, and then just overlap it just slightly by about 1/4 inch, not even that. It's just for your glue line to go down, and then that should fit on your pocket there quite nicely. Okay, and then what we're going to do is I'm just going to, because it's paper, I can do it while it's folded, but if it's card, if you're using card, do this bit open. I'm just going to do it that way, and then what I'm going to do is take off the bulk. Find my scissors. Now you want to keep the middle flap because that's the bit that you're going to be seeing. So I'm just going to cut a wedge into there. So just start a little bit, if you can see. I'm just starting a little bit above the score line and just creating a wedge. It's going to be covered, so you don't need to be precious about it. And then I'm just going to mitre that corner in. Same with this one here. And then I'll just start again there and work my way to the middle and the top of that score line. And then when you do this, you'll have a little bit of a gap there, and it just stops the bulk when you turn up your piece. Okay, so we've got that bit. And then you want to measure on your pocket. So I want a flap to come down about that length, and you want it to be about there. So I'm just going to mark those 2 marks there. And that's my top bit. So I want to cut the first mark. Okay, put the first mark, and then I want to score my second mark, and it just happens, mine just happens to be 4 1/4. Okay, now you're going to do the same with this side because you want to take the bulk off. This is going to be your flap, so you want to keep the middle bit. And again, I'm going to do a slightly wider wedge this time, and then I'm going to just mitre that side, mitre this side, and then do the same on this bit here, just a slightly larger mitre to take that score mark out. Okay, so you end up with that. So you close it, you've got your bottom one, and then this is your top one, and then you've got this V here to give you this line here. Okay, and there's your policy envelope. And that's going to go on like this. Now I need to create a closure for this, and I don't want to use a Velcro dot. So I'm going to put in what am I going to put in? Let's put a circle like a policy envelope, but we'll bring the thread up through there and just tie it. That'll be an idea. So you want to create a circle. Now what have we got that we can create a circle from? So we could use one of these. So I'm just going to get a circle punch, and I'm only getting an inch one, and I want it to have a full fingerprint in it. Okay. Oh, I could have used a different one. And then I'll just get some card that I can back that with to just stabilise it. So I'm just going to cut out several just to make that button a bit thicker. And then I'm going to glue those together. And I'm just going to stick that onto the back of there. Okay, I'm going to ink it. And then what we want to do is, I do want to ink, I'll glue this up while I'm at it. Just going to glue this up, so I'll just put a very thin bead down that end and a very thin bead down this end. Probably didn't need it, but just covers both of the crossovers then. It's not stuck down. And I'm just going to glue this part up. Pop that on there, like so. Okay. So I want this now to be fitted onto there, so I'm going to need a brad. So I'm just going to line that up on my board here in a square. So you've got an inch square there, line it up and then come down to where you see that line and then poke your hole in. Now that's not foolproof either, but it does get you somewhere near. And then I'm going to just pop that onto there where I want it. Yeah, about there. Just put a mark and make your hole. Now I'm just wanting to get another piece of circle piece. Actually, I'll use a piece of this because I just want to cover the brad inside. Okay. So I want to pop that on straight. It's going to go through there, that's going to go through there, and then I'm going to open that up. Now you could use washi really to go across the back, but since we've got some of that paper as well. There we go. I'm just going to glue a piece of this on. Okie dokie. Okay. There we go. So you've got that on. So what we now want to do is we want a piece of thread. You can use anything. I've got a piece of this here. I'll just get a piece of that. And then what you want to do is that needs to be stuck to the bottom of there or in here. So wherever that's going, you want that to be in the middle. So I'm going to just pop a bit of washi down with some glue to hold that down or make it a bit more secure. Just stick a bit of glue on it, wherever that is. Pop that into the glue there, and then pop that over the top. Okay, and then we're going to pop this on. I'm going to use a bit of collal so I can get it in the right place. Now you could make this into another pocket if you wanted to, as a back pocket, but I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to stick it on. Okay, and then that's just going to sit like so there. Just get that all glued down and as straight as you can. Let that dry. Oh dear, keeps moving. And then this can be cut off if you want to. So that's just then going to come around and fit down there like so. So we only need that bit, to be fair. And there we have a little policy envelope on there. So now we just need to decorate it up. So what I want to do is probably stamp. I'm going to need something to go in the back of there, but I think we can use a tag or a couple of tags. Yeah, that would be okay. I think we could use that. And then I'm probably going to want to decorate the pocket and these bits here. So I'm going to want some cutouts. And I think we can yes, I quite like her there. And I do like the butler. I don't really think we can put much else for there. I think I'm going to get some stamps out. So I'll find some stamps so that I can put some numbers on and filed and inspected or whatever I can find. So I'll find those first. Okay, so I found some stamps. If you don't have stamps, Patty had a great idea in the group where she just used, labels to add interest to her pieces. So if you don't have stamps, then, find an alternative way to do that. So I've cut a little bit off of Libby so that I can actually get her inside that pocket and up to this corner, so that I'm not gluing over this end of the pocket. I'm only gluing over this side. So when I come to use this pocket, it's only going to be this big because of Libby. Now I could back her and leave her as a standalone piece, but I just want to do it this way so that she's flat. So I'm going to stick the butler onto my envelope. I just want to stick these ones down so that I can see where I want to put my stamps or do some stamping. So I want to put something on this to label that. So I'm going to put inspected. Where's my little one there? Okay. Inspected. I think it'll fit. I'm going to take those out in case there's any bobbly bits on there. I don't like the blue on that with this, so I'm going to change those. So inspected. And I'll get that one put back in there. And then I've got a piece here and here and here and here, and then I've got the top piece. So I'm going to put in that piece. Important. Now that will be covered up, but I don't mind. And I think we'll just put some numbers on here. Oh, mind you, I want to put numbers on there. let's put confidential on the envelope. Somewhere, maybe across there. No, that might not be going down. It wasn't. Oh well, it's done now. I probably should have done it in red actually, but never mind. And then we want some numbers. I'm thinking, what numbers can we fit onto there? This one. Put that somewhere. And there. And if we put received, maybe on this one it'll fit there, like that. And then maybe just some more numbers. I've got this one there, this is a tiny one. And we will stick that one on the envelope. Okay, I think we'll leave it there. Okay, so I think that's enough. I don't think it's too bad. I've just gone over a little bit here with a bit of a pen just so that it doesn't look too broken. And I'm not feeling those blue, so I just want to get some plain ones of the, here, this one and this one, or plainer ones I should say. So I need to just put some holes in those. So all that's left to do now is just to fill it up. So I've put my holes in there and they're going to go into there. I might actually just stamp the top of those, although you can't really see them because I want them to go in like that, so you can't really tell. So I think I won't bother actually. And then what I've done here is it was restricting this pocket too much and I couldn't get these cards in. So what I've done is I've just split along the top of there so that although on face value she looks like that, when we put something in we can fill the whole of the pocket. So I'm going to put a couple of cards into there, just so that we can still see her. And then I'll pop another couple of cards into there, which will help that. And then I hadn't got anything small enough in the main kit, so I've just picked like an invoice and some fingerprints and a photograph and a ticket as some sort of evidence that I will stick into this pocket. It just happened that this piece actually fit perfectly in there, so I've just stuck a little paper clip on the top of that. So I'll pop that into there and then close that up. And then what I want is a small piece of evidence. I think that's the smallest one I've got. So I'm thinking of just sticking that across there. It won't go anywhere else unless I cover that number up, which I could actually do. And I like the pop of red as well. So I'm thinking, yeah, that might be the right place for it to be. So I'm going to cover that number up and, yeah, because I don't really want to put it underneath. I don't want to cover the tray up. So yeah, I'm going to put that there. And then I'm going to call this one done. And then I think what we'll do is I'll stick it down to the page so that you can see that it's all stuck. I'm going to stick a stamp over that as well, like an approved stamp or something, quite possibly. And then it's going to go into our signature on this page here. So page 5 will actually be done, and that's going to sit nicely there. I like that. I think it's come out quite nice. What do you think? Yeah, that was enjoyable. So I'm going to stick that down onto there, and I'll call that our page 5. And then we'll go on to, I think it's page 10, is it? I don't know where my list has gone now. Page 6, which is a pocket. So what I'm going to do, because the video has been quite long today, because we've actually done a full page, I will do it in tomorrow's video for you. So we'll go on to, and we'll do a couple tomorrow, a couple of pages in it tomorrow, and see. So that will be what it will look like. I might put something in those as well. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got some inspiration from it in some form or another. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow with another video for you. So thanks for watching. Take care. Bye for now.